It's been 3 weeks since the last installment, so I'm here to make another video documenting every change in the Shaman King reboot. And just for clarification, I'm not making the series to call the anime bad. I'm just interested in seeing everything that's changed and figured other people would be interested too. If this is your first time seeing the series, I'm documenting every change from the manga in the new Shaman King anime. I consider everything that was added or removed from the manga to be a change, no matter how small. So I'll mostly be talking about removed dialogue. Each part of the series will cover 3 episodes, and this part will cover episodes 4 through 6. So, first, obviously we're covering episode 4. It adapts chapters 18 through 24. So first off is the episode removes the Star Trek parody that came before Ryu found the bowling alley, as well as some of the exposition about the location of the bowling alley, and it removes Ryu being angry at his gang. The scene with Manta and Yo buying Ryu's new sword is shown later than it was in the manga. The episode shows a scene from chapter 11, specifically when Ryu is in the Chinese restaurant, though it removes most of the dialogue that was in the manga, like Ren threatening Ryu and Bason guarding the building. The scene was originally cut from episode 3, which should have covered it, but it is placed here instead. Ryu punches Muscle Punch outside of the bowling alley, instead of after he showed that the powers still worked. The anime also removes that scene. It also removes Ryu complaining about the location of the bowling alley. The anime removes the gang trying to comfort Ryu before and after Anna shows up, and Muscle Punch asking what is wrong after seeing Anna. The anime shows the scene with Yo buying Ryu a sword now, instead of before Ryu found the bowling alley. It also removes the establishing shot showing the Buddha statue. The anime removes Manta insulting Ryu, and also removes Manta complaining about being ignored and saying that he'll pay half. It also removes Manta's inner dialogue about not knowing Yo very well, and removes Yo saying they'll give Ryu the sword after going home. The layout of Yo's house is changed slightly in the anime. The well is removed and a side house is added. The anime removes Yo initially saying that he rents the house, as well as Anna being surprised by Manta being there. In the manga, Ryu tells them that they're living in sin, and Anna responds there's nothing indecent going on. That is removed in the anime. The anime removes Ryu saying that Yo will pay for being engaged, and so Manta never questions what he meant by that. In the reboot, Manta never asks if their parents approve of them living together. Some dialogue between Manta and Abinomaru is removed. In the anime, Anna doesn't complain about the house having no privacy. The anime also doesn't explain why the house is haunted. In the anime, Manta leaves the house after seeing that it was haunted. He stays till later in the manga. The anime removes this scene of Ryu's gang. The anime removes some of Tokugaro's dialogue and Ryu's response to it. Tokugaro also properly introduces himself to Ryu in a different way. In the manga, he's pretty chill, while in the anime, he almost immediately attacks him. The anime doesn't show Ryu's gang talk about Tokugaro's curse, and the scene of Manta leaving the house was removed, since he had left earlier in the anime. We also don't see Manta walking toward the bowling alley. In the anime, it happens off-screen. Okay, just on a personal note, I feel like Manta has been really boring in this adaptation. If you've noticed, it removes almost all scenes with him, that develop him, which sucks because in the manga he's a pretty interesting character, but in the anime he's like just an exposition dump. The next change is that Ryu's gang doesn't try to stop Ryu from drinking, so we don't learn that Ryu is against underage drinking. For the record, all mention of alcohol is removed from the anime. If you've seen the episode, you might think that's wrong because most of the subs do mention alcohol, but that is just a translation mistake. It was not in the original script as far as I know. It also removes some other dialogue from Tokugaro and Ryu's gang. The anime removes Manta's inner monologue reacting to Ryu being possessed, and his reaction to hearing the word Harusame. The anime somewhat obscures the knife Tokagera used to stab Muscle Punch, and removes Manta's initial reaction to it. The anime removes Tokagera's line about them being too soft, and Tokagera doesn't explain his view of the world. Some more Tokagera lines are removed, and Yo is the first one shown to react to Manta's yell. In the manga, we see Anna and Amidamoru react first. We also saw Harusame's display broken. Some more dialogue was removed. The anime changes Tokagera's second introduction. The anime removes some more dialogue. It's all pretty minor, so it would be a waste to go through it all, but I'll show it on screen. Most scenes in the fight showing Ryu's gang were removed in the anime. Some more minor dialogue is removed. Tokagera had some sort of important dialogue removed in the anime, specifically him gloating and licking Harusame. Anna explains how to beat Tokagera differently in the manga. We don't hear Amidamoru's reaction to hearing he needs to destroy Harusame in the anime. It just goes straight to the flashback. Kid Mosuke is a lot calmer when Amidamoru breaks the sword in the anime, and Mosuke doesn't say he's a blacksmith's son in the anime. The anime adds a shot showing Amidamoru test out the sword, but it also removes most of the dialogue from that scene, and skips to Mosuke saying that he wants Amidamoru to be a great swordsman, which originally took place the night after he got Harusame, but in the anime he says it right after giving it to him. He also got the sword at daytime during the manga. Some other lines of dialogue were removed from the flashback, like the way Amidamoru discovered that the sword was made from Mosuke's knife. Amidamoru's thoughts after the flashback are also removed. The dialogue immediately after the flashback is changed a lot. It goes from the pose they strike straight to them using Shockwave Budagiri. To put that into perspective, here's all the removed dialogue. Tokagera doesn't mention Harusame, so the "what is Harusame" line is removed. In the anime, Tokagera doesn't threaten to behead Manta, and so Amidamoru doesn't say that he can strike faster than Tokagera can cut. And so Tokagera doesn't accuse him of bluffing, and doesn't mention that he couldn't even steal a sword off of a corpse. Amidamoru doesn't apologize to Yo, and so Yo doesn't say that Tokagera doesn't understand Amidamoru's true strength. Since he doesn't say that, Tokagera doesn't accuse him of bluffing once again. The anime goes straight to Amidamoru saying that the answer was obvious, so it skipped almost 3 pages. The anime removed Tokagera's "no way" face. I suspect it was to make the scene more serious. The anime also removed Tokagera's over-the-top reaction to Amidamoru breaking the sword, probably for the same reason. In the anime, Yo stops being integrated with Amidamoru before giving a speech about why Amidamoru is strong. The anime alters Yo's speech. Yo doesn't mention the difference between Amidamoru and Tokagera, or that Tokagera failed his revenge. Yo also doesn't tell him to enjoy life and rest in peace, so we don't see that Yo's words sort of got to Tokagera, along with some other stuff. It also removes most of the dialogue directly after that. I'll show that on screen. The biggest thing removed from that interaction, in my opinion, is that Tokagera didn't reiterate his worldview. Instead, he just says that he won't rest easy. Tokagera threatening Manta is also removed, as well as Amidamoru saying that they need to integrate. No blood is shown after the group attacks Ryu, and the rest of Ryu's gang doesn't react to the people hitting him. The gang doesn't say why they follow Ryu, like they do in the manga. Instead, we see flashbacks from a page later, while Muscle Punch talks about how Ryu saved them. Muscle Punch also doesn't check on Manta. Ryu also isn't smoking in the flashback, like he was in the manga. Manta's inner monologue is also removed, as well as the gang grabbing Ryu, and so his reaction also isn't there. In the anime, we see Ryu break away from the people grabbing him. In the manga, they just let go for some reason. The anime skips a panel showing Yo and Amidamoru thinking of a way to beat Tokagera. It just goes straight to him threatening suicide. It also cuts some dialogue after that. Nobody reacts to Anna telling Tokagera to kill Ryu, and she never calls him a nuisance. She also doesn't say that he doesn't have the guts to kill himself. Some of her threats are also removed. Then, the anime removes almost 8 entire pages. It's too much to go over completely, but I'll show every page on screen. Here are the most important stuff, though. So, in the anime, we miss out on a brief Tokagero flashback and speech, so we don't learn that much about him. It also entirely cuts apart about Ryu not having enough energy left, and that Tokagero will kill Ryu if he stays inside of him. It basically just goes straight from Anna threatening to kill him to him attacking Yo. A bit of another Tokagero speech is also removed. I don't know why they did this, but we don't see him cry after telling a story about his mom. And he says why he was named Tokagero after saying that Aminamoru killed him. In the manga, it was the other way around. And as usual, all Manta reaction shots are removed. Oh, and Tokagero also doesn't call Yo an idiot for letting himself be grabbed. A lot of Anna's dialogue here is removed. She doesn't tell Yo to pay attention, and she doesn't explain that you need to psychologically corner a ghost before removing it, and she doesn't threaten Tokagero nearly as much. Another Manta reaction is cut. Now, another big chunk of content is cut. The reboot doesn't have Yo say that maybe Tokagero was jealous, and so a bit of Tokagero's response to that was cut. The manga also showed Anna try to talk Yo out of saving both of them. Instead, Yo immediately tries to integrate with Tokagero. Manta also doesn't try to talk Yo down, and Yo doesn't tell Tokagero that he can't do anything in Ryu's body. The scene where Amidamoru is defending Yo is shortened in the anime. He doesn't say that Tokagero is a worthless bandit, or that he would have killed him if he was alive. Yo also doesn't put Amidamoru in the tablet. He just shoves him aside. So all dialogue related to that is removed, and any scene in the manga where he was in the tablet is now just replaced with Amidamoru standing there. Tokagero also doesn't question whether or not it's a trick, so Anna doesn't get the chance to insult her more. Some more Tokagero lines are cut, as well as some reaction shots. In the anime, Anna doesn't explain that she thought Yo would dominate Tokagero's soul. Yo is also never seen with Ryu's knife. Manta doesn't question Tokagero crying in the anime. Amidamoru doesn't mention that Tokagero is living to validate his mom's death. He also doesn't say that he understood why Yo let Tokagero possess him. The anime shows Tokagero leave Yo's body before everyone starts celebrating. In the manga, it happened afterwards. Last but not least, the anime adds a scene of Ren that I don't believe was in the manga anywhere at the end of the episode. Well, that's it for episode 4. Now we're on to episode 5, which consists of 7 manga chapters, which span through chapter 25 through 31. In the anime, Yo doesn't mention being tired after being possessed by Tokagero in the previous episode, and also doesn't ask what's gotten into Anna, since she's cooking. A reaction panel after Ryu's Shaman power was revealed was changed into a more generic one. In the manga, Manta falls down to show the absurdity of the situation. His standalone reaction shot is also glossed over. Ryu doesn't specifically thank Amidamoru for saving his life, nor does he call him Master Amidamoru. The reaction to that is also removed. A page where Ryu explains how he's been searching for a place to belong, and how him and Tokagero are alike has been removed. Ryu's gang is missing entirely from this portion of the story. In the manga, they helped clean up the house and were hanging out in the hot springs later. Ryu talking about repairing Yo and Amidamoru is subsequently left out as well. For the next part, the anime changed things up a bit. The scene with Mosuke and Amidamoru possessing Ryu and Yo is done through a flashback instead of in the present. The flashback is mostly intact, but has some parts that were removed, like Amidamoru feeling awkward about meeting Mosuke. Yo mentioning being able to eat dinner after chopping the firewood is also removed. This anime adaptation does not show a lot of Anna's training. Ryu's gang is absent when Ryu and Manta leave, so all of the dialogue is removed. The scene itself is fully intact though. Manta running back to Yo's house and talking about Rigo is removed. Instead, Anna and Yo do some exposition. Yo's shirt also does not include the maple leaf as it does in the manga. The part where Ren and June are talking is changed up a bit. At the end of episode 4, Ren was on a rooftop bragging about his new skills and how he would become the Shaman King. That scene was supposed to take place here while talking to June. In the cave with Silva and Goldva, the twin sisters Lip and Rap of the Patch Tribe don't get any dialogue. They are in the cave, but you don't see their faces nor do they say anything, unlike the manga. A scene with Yo doing the electric chair in class is removed. The winter uniform that Yo, Anna, and Manta wear during this part is also changed. They wear their regular outfits instead. The scene where Yo and Manta are outside also includes some dialogue changes. Instead of Manta telling Yo that shamans from all around the world have seen the comet that he can't slack off, Manta just asks where and when the shaman fight will take place. Some other dialogue was removed, like Yo saying he hasn't heard from his grandpa and that it all doesn't seem real to him yet. Later on, when Silva reveals himself to Yo, there's a panel that wasn't adapted where Silva talks about how that spot is great for looking at stars. When explaining the shaman fight, Silva doesn't show Yo the Oracle Bell before the fight like he does in the manga. Silva's explanation about higher spirits not having egos is also missing. The exaggerated faces Yo pulls when he gets sent flying are removed, probably to make it a bit more serious. When Yo uses the prayer attack to send Silva's familiars to heaven, some dialogue explaining why was removed. In the manga, he mentions that the Native American cultures weren't based on written dialogue, and that they use a different shamanic media. Some dialogue explaining why Yo is able to use the Oversoul with a human ghost was also removed. It is explained that Amida Maru has abandoned his ego for Yo long ago. A panel with Anna asking Manta if he was sure he didn't know where Yo was removed. Silva mentioning Yo being exhausted is removed. After Silva fires his totem pole cannon, Yo mentions that he would have never guessed that he would be the one fighting instead of Amida Maru, and that he is grateful for Anna's training. A comedic scene was cut where Yo plays around with the Oracle Bell, in favor of a more serious toned scene where Silva explains the workings of the device and the tournament. In the manga, we see more of the Oracle Bell. It shows Yo's name and country, while we don't see anything on it in the anime. A plot hole of the manga was fixed here. In the original, it was explained that the shamans accumulate points based on how well they do. That's not how the tournament ended up working, which is why they opted to change that. Dialogue with Silva, saying that he should show the other officiants his Oracle Bell if they pick on him, was removed. Okay, so now we're on to episode 6, which consists of 7 manga chapters again, and spans through chapter 32 through 38. Okay, so first off is, a lot of the officiants' dialogue is removed. They don't talk about finding his soul, or him going to the Great Spirit. In the manga, Silva came after we see the officiants' appearances. In the anime, we see them after, and then even then, some of them aren't visible. Their conversation with Silva is also shortened. Most importantly, they don't mention that Chrome loved to dance, which is a major character trait of him. Silva doesn't question who Ren is after seeing him, and he doesn't call him evil. The officiant also doesn't say that Ren didn't break any rules. He also doesn't explain that they hold the test to gauge mana values. The officiant doesn't say that Chrome's death shouldn't be hard to accept for an officiant. Silva doesn't ask how a cold-blooded murderer can be Shaman King. Some of Goldva's dialogue was removed. He doesn't explain how he was watching them, and he doesn't say that the Great Spirit can't see the future, most likely because he repeats it almost immediately after. The anime also cuts a bit of Goldva's dialogue at the end of the scene. In the manga, he is amused by Yo getting matched up against his next opponent and notes how they are both from Japan and have similar amounts of mana. The anime then skips like the last 7 pages of the chapter, which includes some pretty important stuff, like Horohoro's introduction and the date, time, and location of Yo's first fight. In the anime, Yo's Oracle Bell message happens off-screen. It skipped a lot of the comedic stuff too. In the anime, Manta doesn't react to Yo asking about Horohoro's name, and Yo doesn't further explain why he wants to know about it. A scene showing Anna return from shopping for clothing supplies isn't shown in the anime. Neither is Manta telling Yo to train. The anime skips straight to the scene where Manta explains that Horohoro is probably Aino, but it skips a bit of the exposition on it. It also skips a scene where Manta shoots a laser out of shock after Yo tells a joke. Some more of Manta's dialogue is removed as well. In the anime, it skips straight to the fight with Horohoro. The manga has Amida Maru tell Manta that belief is powerful, and then the narrator explains that 2 weeks have passed. At the Sunshine Building, Anna is wearing her normal outfit instead of the coat she wore in the manga, and it removes a lot of the lines from Anna and Manta, like her explaining the history of the building. In the anime, Yo doesn't question the fact he has a costume, and so Anna doesn't explain that it's an Asakura family tradition. Yo and Manta make fun of the costume less in the anime. The dialogue during the part where Horo jumps off the building is a lot different in the anime. Manta and Yo barely react to him jumping, and Manta doesn't explain how he's doing it. The anime adds a line where he says he's Horo, pride of the Ainu, which he didn't say in the manga. The anime has Horo show off Kuroro after he lands on the ground. He shows her during his fall in the manga. Yo and Manta also react a bit less to her. The reboot adds a ring to the boxing gag with Anna. Horo doesn't complain about Anna hitting him nearly as much as he did in the manga, and a bit of Yo's dialogue is removed. Horo is also less shocked when he comes to the conclusion that Anna will be his wife. The anime doesn't show Yo repeat Kuroro's name after Horo says it. Some in-battle exposition is removed, like Manta explaining that Horo shoots ice, and Anna and Horo explaining how he shoots it. The anime also changes the fight a bit. In the manga, he shot out a barrage of ice after the fight started, but before he made the icicle on his board. The anime only shows the icicle attack. In the anime, Yo isn't hit by Horo's icicle attack, so all dialogue referring to that is removed. Basically, all fight dialogue during this beginning stage of the fight is removed. Horo doesn't mention that Yo's oversoul changed in the anime. The anime has Horo explain his philosophy a bit less. In the anime, Yo doesn't say that Horo's dream is to protect his friends. We don't see Manta and Anna's initial reaction to Yo saying Horo can be Shaman King. Horo doesn't say that he almost turned his oversoul off out of shock in the anime. Horo going over his 4 options to make Yo disengage his oversoul is removed. Instead, he immediately goes for the attack. When Horo talks about the saying from his village, it's Yo that reacts to it in the anime, not Manta. A reference to the 4th option Horo had, being trying something else, was removed, and he starts the avalanche immediately. Horo destroying a lot of the surroundings is also removed. Manta telling Yo to shield himself is removed. Goldva, Lip, and Rap watching the fight and explaining that a shaman's own ability is the most important part, instead of the spirit ally, is removed from the anime. Kaleem knocking out the police officers and thinking Horo won was removed. Instead, he's on the rooftop with Silva. Back at Yo's house, Ryu and his gang start talking about the Shaman King and what they would ask the Great Spirit if they had the chance to. At the end of the episode, Kaleem and Silva immediately get to the point and talk about Yo's next opponent. In the manga, they talk about the sales, and Kaleem wants to sell the info about Yo's next opponent to Silva. Silva also smokes a cigarette at the end, which he does not do in the anime. Well, that's it for part 2. This time around it took a lot more work, so I really appreciate if you guys liked or subscribed, and it would actually really help me. And I want to say thanks to Saints from the Shaman King Discord. He was a huge help. I probably wouldn't have gotten this done nearly as quickly without him. He wrote the entire script for episode 5 and half of episode 6. So, if you notice the difference in styles, that's why. It was two people doing it. And, well, I'll be back once another 3 episodes come out. That's kind of what I've been doing. So, thanks for getting this far. I really appreciate it. It took me like 10 plus hours of work to put together, so hope you stick around for part 3, I guess.